Assalamu alaikum. Today I'm going to be giving you guys 5 tips that helped me get a first class in my dissertation during my undergrad.
5 tips to get a first in your dissertation.
You need to remember that the marker or the lecturer that is marking your dissertation has marked tens of dissertations, and all the dissertations are 10,000 words, and they have their lectures to do, and they have other students and other assignments to go over, and so you need to put yourself in their shoes. So the most important tip, and the thing that helped me the most, was essentially structuring each paragraph. So what you do is you break down the paragraph in simple terms into 3 parts. The first bit is the introduction, and so the opening of the paragraph, which very in one sentence, one line, describes exactly what this paragraph is about. Why is this paragraph relevant? What is the reader going to gain from this paragraph? Essentially, like, you're introducing the paragraph. Then in the middle, you're going to put, this is going to be like the main block. And I'll show you an example in a second as well. This is going to be the main block where you put your evidence forward, and then that's when you analyze it, critically analyze that evidence. And finally, a concluding line, which is the take-home message from that paragraph. So when your marker is very tired and they've read many dissertations, just from reading the first line and the last line, essentially that tells them all they need to know about the paragraph. And inside the paragraph is all the evidence that you need. So I'll show you an example right now. So this article was published on, I think, the 25th of Feb 2020. And if you look here, in the first line of the paragraph is regarding the case fatality and transmission rates among patients with coronavirus infection. The findings from various studies were different. So just from that opening line, we know exactly what this paragraph's about. This is from a real study, a real published article. And so we know that this paragraph is going to cover the differences in fatality and transmission rates of coronavirus from different studies. And then we have the main block, which is studies of Wang et al. That's evidence, fatality was this, according to him and him. This right here is all the evidence that they have broken down. So the yellow is the introduction, the green is the main block, is the actual evidence and the critical analysis. And then it says different sample size and possible viral variations may have contributed to the differences, etc., etc. So here they're now actually explaining the evidence, they're analyzing the evidence. That's what you need to know. And then finally, in the last bit, it says, according to the official Chinese data, the case fatality rate among coronavirus infected patients was much lower than SARS and MERS. So this conclusion and the introduction, just from them alone, the first line in yellow and the last line in blue, that alone tells you everything you need to know about this paragraph. The bit in green is just the evidence. If you didn't include the green, it's just hearsay, like says who, like where's the evidence in that? But because they've included the middle bit with the evidence and the analysis of it, you now know the purpose, the evidence essentially. So the first line and the last line provide everything you need to know about this paragraph. And so if you're tired and you just read the first line and the last line, you know everything you need to know about this paragraph. And clearly, the biggest chunk of the paragraph is the evidence and the critical analysis. That's where you get your marks. But as a reader, they now know the relevance of this paragraph, what you're talking about, and then the finding of it. So the biggest point that my personal tutor made when we were discussing my dissertation was the flow. Because it has to be easy to understand, easy to flow, it has to make sense. If you have random bits here and there and you have no structure to the entire, it's a 10,000 word document. That's a lot of words, that's like 10,000 words. And it's very confusing, and usually you'll read the end and then you forget what you read at the beginning because it's so long. And so it's important to have a clear structure through your entire dissertation. So this brings us nicely onto point 2, which is structure use stuff like subheadings and headings. Make sure each paragraph is relevant, introduce the paragraphs and conclude them, and even sometimes introduce the next paragraph or use subheadings to introduce the entire block. So that's really important, just to show the flow of the text. You want the reader to be like, okay, I'm reading this paragraph, it makes sense why he included this paragraph here, I'm reading the next paragraph, it makes sense why that paragraph's included, and etc, etc, and it's easy to understand, so you have it all flows together. That's what you want it to flow together, as opposed to not using subheadings and headings effectively. Then it's like you're reading this paragraph and then you jump to there, and why did you jump there and then you jump there. It's just terrible for the reader, and as a reader you don't want to read it, and you automatically mark it lower. Third point, which is probably one of the scariest parts of a dissertation, is referencing, and it's very intimidating. And I know people who finished their 3 years at uni and they still don't know how to reference, or they still struggle with it. My advice, and this is a trick I found ages ago, I don't know why not everyone uses it, but there's 3 ways to make referencing easy for you. And that is, you can either go onto Word, and from Word you can insert the reference, and so it comes up in order. Or you can use software websites like Cite This For Me and RefWorks. Personally, I use Cite This For Me, but I know people that use RefWorks. And all you have to do is put the link of the article that you're reading, and it automatically references it for you. You just select Harvard referencing or whatever referencing style you're using, put the link in and press OK, and that's it. And then you copy and paste the in-text citation, and you copy and paste the reference, and you insert that in the bibliography. That's it. That's what I do. It is always good to double check the reference just to make sure it's correct, but 9.9 out of 10 it's always been correct for me. And I did my dissertation and I got a first in it, so it's clearly it does work. And I also want to say a very important thing: reference as you go along. When you have, I think I had just shy of 100 references. I had a lot of references, between 80 to 100 references. So don't leave it to the end. It's too much pain. Just reference as you go along. That's the best advice I can give you. And then another tip, which is you think it makes sense and you do it anyway, but always save your work to a OneDrive, so that it automatically saves. If you have internet, it'll automatically save as you go along. Don't leave it where you have to manually save, because you will forget, your laptop or computer will crash and you will lose a lot of text. From my personal experience, I think it was 3 days before I submitted, I had written around 3,000 words extra, and when I came to save it, my Word document just started lagging and crashing, and it deleted, and it automatically saved from midnight, but by then it was 6 AM and I had written all these words, and I had to start again from what I had at midnight, so 3,000 words shy. And that basically save to OneDrive. If you're at uni, you obviously have a uni email. You'll have a OneDrive or a Google Drive or something like that. But do it so that it saves automatically. Trust me. Just trust me. Been there, done that. And finally, dissertations are very stressful. It's 10,000 words. You're gonna go without eating, without sleeping, pulling all-nighters. Make sure you look after yourself. Easier said than done, but try your best to look after yourself, because it is a very stressful time. It is very hard, and if you don't look after yourself, it will come up and affect the work you're doing. So yeah, try and eat as much as possible, sleep as much as possible. Okay, don't eat as much as possible, that's not healthy, but eat enough and eat good food and sleep as much as you need, shall we say. With that being said, probably 90% of you will end up doing all-nighters anyway, and will end up snacking, if not eating at all. But just try and remember to look after yourself. And yeah, that's it. Peace, take care.